Hi everybody, this is Mark at the Hall of Flame Museum in Phoenix, Arizona, the world's largest historical firefighting museum. I'm the curator of education, and most of the time I'm talking about the history of all the beautiful firefighting pieces that we have here at the museum, the social history and all the technological stuff that went into them and all of that stuff. But today, I'm going to talk about one of the most important pieces of technology that we have here, and it's not really an exhibit, it's for first aid. This is an automatic external defibrillator, and that is a piece of equipment that is designed to sort of jumpstart your heart if you have sudden cardiac arrest, which is something that happens all the time. And it actually happened here at the museum a few years ago, and we had the opportunity to use this, which is not really an opportunity we were looking for, but we were very glad that we ended up being very, very glad that we had this because a person's life was saved. And I'll tell that story in a minute, but first I want to talk about how this actually works. These are, the kind word would be idiot-proof. Probably even I could use one. I didn't have to that day, I was very fortunate, but I did witness it being used, and I think even I could have managed to use it. Now, if you have a person who collapses from a cardiac arrest, or what appears to be a cardiac arrest, and they don't have a pulse, and they don't appear to be breathing, the first thing that you want to do, I mean really truly the first thing, is call 911. And what that often will mean, if there's a lot of people around, if you assign someone to call 911, you say Bob, Mary, whatever, go call 911. Or you might even want to tell more than one person, but don't just say somebody call 911. Say you or several people call 911, because then somebody will call 911. But you don't want people assuming that somebody else is calling 911. You want to make that assignment. Now it's very, very important because you want help on the way while you're doing this. And then, while one person is deploying this, hopefully, ideally, somebody else is doing continuous compressions on the chest of the person. You can find out how to do that a lot of different places on the internet. There are videos and instructions, and you really, ideally, a very smart thing to do is to have somebody in your office or your workplace or your home, ideally you yourself, who knows how to do, call it cardiopulmonary resuscitation, who knows how to do continuous chest compressions. But if you're in a building that has one of these, and if you're in charge of a building, we highly, highly recommend, from personal experience, that you have one of these. Then somebody also goes and gets it, right? And if that's you get this down off of the wall, and you open it up, and you can see here that there's a little item that pulls up, and when you do that, you'll notice this, spooky robot voice will start telling you what to do.
Begin by removing all clothing from the patient's chest. Cut clothing if needed. When patient's chest is bare, remove protective cover and take out white adhesive pads.
Now at this point, I'm going to stop it because I don't want to actually take all the pads and so forth out. But if you were actually using this, you can pretty much just follow the directions of Mr. Robot Voice. Now, the reason that I happened to see this in action was that some years ago, this one was actually donated to us by one of our wonderful volunteers, a gentleman by the name of Richard Landon. And sadly, Rich has since passed on, but he gave this to us in honor of a nephew of his who died in a helicopter crash. He was a medevac worker on a helicopter who crashed in South Carolina and was killed, and Rich was very close to this kid, and he, in his honor, donated this to us, and it's no little gift, and it sort of hung undisturbed for a number of years here at the museum. Well, a few years back, there was a nice gentleman who came into the museum from New Jersey. He was a former firefighter. He was in his 60s or 70s, I would guess. And a lady who was visiting the museum came up and told the gentleman at the front desk that an older man had collapsed in our video theater. And he went and checked, and he immediately called 911, but he asked me to go in and see to this, and I went in there and I was sort of pulling the man away from the wall when two firefighters that were visiting the museum from the state of Georgia came in, and I very gladly stepped back and they took over. They pulled the thing up, but I handed them this unit, and they opened it up and they followed the instructions, and they put the pads on the man's bare chest. You always want to clear that chest and not have any cloth. And so they put them on the guy's chest. He had a metal necklace, which they pulled off, and the spooky robot voice started saying, "Shock recommended, shock recommended." And they said, "Clear patient, do not touch patient. Shock recommended, shock delivering in however many seconds." It was something to that effect. And suddenly a big shock went through this man, and he stiffened up and he immediately started breathing. There's no pulse, no heartbeat, no nothing. Even the machine said so. And he sort of started in a kind of it sounded like snoring, this breathing rhythm that was labored, but it was happening, it was steady. Well, about this time, the Tempe Fire Department showed up. They came in and they wheeled the man off, and he looked just terrible. I was sort of trying to speak some comforting words to him. I don't even know if he was conscious, but I really, just from my layman's perspective, I thought he has no chance. Well, come to find out later, his wife was here in the museum, and we found, she was sort of looking for him. And she and her brother-in-law went off to find this guy at the hospital in Tempe where they'd taken him. And he was up in bed talking, apparently, by the time they got there. A couple of days later, his daughter came out from New Jersey to take him home, and we all met at the fire station in Tempe where that they had gotten the call and that came down to help us. And we were all very grateful to them, of course, and the guy was, seemed like he was much better. And then the most happy thing of all was that maybe a year and a half later, more than a year later, they came back. The man and his wife came back and visited us. So, it was definitely bought this guy well over another year. And for all I know, and I certainly hope so, he's living on and doing well and happily. But I have to say that one of the greatest pleasures was calling our volunteer, Rich, and saying, "Rich, we got to tell you, you saved a life here at the museum." Rich himself had been a firefighter back in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and it was really meaningful to him, especially in light of how the gift was given to us. So that's a little story, but anybody who is wondering if these things can make a difference, I think you could probably ask anybody who has big public buildings who has these. We talked to a gentleman from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport who told us that they had dozens and dozens and dozens of saves at Phoenix Sky Harbor with using these. And but anybody who's got a big building, if they're not equipped with these, we really kind of think they should be. So for whatever that's worth, I'm Mark at the Hall of Flame Museum of Firefighting. Always remember, if you like these little video segments we do for you, like and share them with your friends, and subscribe to that YouTube channel, the Hall of Flame Museum's YouTube channel. We really appreciate when you do this, and check back often, because we're always trying to come up with new good stuff to give you here at the Hall of Flame Museum YouTube channel. I'm Mark. Bye-bye.